Hi everyone, David Olin from Roland here, and today I'm here at Absolute Music Studios and I'm here to show you the brand new TR8S drum machine. Of course, this is a successor of our very popular TR8, and it also comes with the same ACB modeling technology of vintage Roland drum machines, but of course there's tons more in this one compared to the TR8. So one of the main features would of course be the sample import that you can do via SD card, but there's plenty of effects and other functions on board as well. So let's just have a listen and a look at how easy it is to program. Okay, so let's start by just putting in the bass here. A couple of more steps. And now I'm going to use the motion feature, which essentially means you can record automation, but you can also put automation values, specific values on specific steps manually. So I'm going to do that by just holding a certain step and then changing the value for that step to what I want it to be. So here we go. Now we have a basic bass line going on. We can also do filter changes, for instance, because each channel has its own assignable controller. So this means I can assign this controller to be anything I like a cutoff filter value or an effects parameter or anything really. So we have a little filter here. So now I can just change the filter around. Maybe I want to do this one live actually. So I'll just hold motion record again and just turn this up and down. And now we can hear the filter moving. Okay, let's put some drums in here, maybe a clap and some hi-hats. So this is just your normal step recording, of course. We can do it live as well because we have now on the TR8S we have a velocity sensitive trigger pad right here. So I'll just use that to play, for instance, the ride cymbal. And if you listen closely, you can hear the ride cymbal rhythm is changing, and that's because I've actually set the last step to be number 10 instead of 16. So we have a last step setting for each track. So this means you can get all kinds of polyrhythms going. For instance, if I put a chord here on step number 1, but have the last step on 10 for that one, you can hear the rhythm kind of changing it up. So this is a really neat way to get a lot of variation in your pattern, and not just having it like a static, one bar pattern. Okay, let's put some kicks in here as well. On my kick controller, I have bit rate reduction. So if I turn off this controller, it's going to get quite filthy and crunchy. Right, let's start with some snares now. Now, of course, one of the main features also with the TR8S is the fact that we have a sample import, as I mentioned earlier, so we can put some vocal samples in as well. And I'm gonna put a nice little vocal line I have here, and we will see how that sounds. With some filtering as well. So that's how easy it is to build a basic beat, but it's also super useful in a live situation because you can actually edit another part than the one you're currently playing. So you also have 8 parts to choose from actually. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H instead of just an A and B, for instance. So maybe I want something completely different in the arrangement. So I'm gonna go to part B and edit that while A is playing again. So similarly to what I did before, we're playing A. And now I'm gonna do maybe like a little halftime thing. And just put some simple bass notes on there as well. Okay, so now when I go to part B, which I just made, so I just made this while part A was playing. So this makes it really easy for you to build your track from scratch when you're in a live situation, because you can start from scratch and just build whatever is coming next without having to interrupt the actual playback. So that's a really neat feature as well. We also have a ton of effects on board. For instance, we have a master effects section, first of all. So we just hit the master effects on button here. In this case, it's a bit crusher. and you can easily assign this Master Effects controller to be whatever you want it to be. On top of that, we also have a normal send and return effect section with a reverb and a delay. So these are also really easy to access quickly by just doing this, for instance. So I have my kick and snare here. If I want to add some reverb with a shortcut to the kick, I'll just hold the kick button and turn the reverb master level knob like this. And now you can hear plenty of reverb on the kick. Same thing with the snare, of course, like that. Maybe we want to do something else. So I'll go to the claps and add some delay. Again, just hold the clap button, turn the delay master level up, and now we have a delay on the clap. So there are plenty of shortcuts here to use in your live performance as you work. So most of the important functions are really easy and fast to access. Okay, now let's look at some of the connections of the TR8S. I mean, of course, you have your main stereo output here, but you also have 6 additional separate outputs that you can use for anything you want. So this means, of course, you can send a kick out separately, or a snare or a hi-hat, but you can also send several sounds to one output, or you can even use them as trigger outputs too. And on top of this, there's also actually a dedicated trigger output as well, which I'm already have connected here to the SEO2. So that's about audio and triggers, but also there's an external input here. Again, my SEO2 is connected to the external input, and the external input can have a reverb put on top of it, and the delay, and even sidechain compression that you can trig with any sound that you choose. There's also a USB connection, and this means in this case that you have a built-in USB MIDI interface, USB audio interface, and also you can actually use the audio interface to send out DAW channels separately from the separate outputs as well. Of course, it's also IRA link compatible, so it easily hooks up to the MX1 mixer if you have one of those. So you can get the MIDI and the audio and everything through just one USB cable. Anyway, let's look at the trigger track here. So I'm going to send the trigger track to my SEO2 from the trigger output. So I've just accessed the trigger track here, and there we go. And of course, the beauty of a trigger is that is quite different from just standard MIDI, because it's just actually triggering the steps of the sequencer separately. So this means you can get a lot of variation even though the pattern is still the same constantly. So that is the TR8S. Thank you very much for watching, and if you want additional information, just check out the Absolute Music website. Thank you very much.